So Lulu, thank you very much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership. But before we go into leadership, can you tell us a little bit more about your own background? Where did you grow up?
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you. I grew up in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa.
Right.
In a small rural village called Kromhoek.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I grew up, and that's where I was raised, and that's where I went to school, primary school, and then for high school I went to, still in the Eastern Cape, but in Umtata and in Flagstaff.
Right.
And then from there went to university.
And what was your dream career as you grew up?
When I grew up, I dreamt of being a doctor, a medical doctor. I think
Right.
the primary reason for that is because when I grew up, my mother was very sickly.
Mm-hmm.
And she was hospitalized quite a lot, had many operations, she had a heart problem. And so when we went to visit her in hospital, I would hear the loudspeaker calling doctors, doctor by name, Dr. So-and-so, Dr. So-and-so. And I kind of thought, well, it would sound right, it could sound very nice if instead of saying Dr. Nick, they would be saying Dr. Gwagwa, Dr. Gwagwa, call for you, please. And I thought, I like this. And also in the process, I would also be looking after my mom. So that's what I grew up wanting to be, but it was not to be. Because when I was doing my grade 11, which was Form 4 at the time,
Right.
we didn't have a maths teacher in our school. And so my father was a school principal, a primary school principal. So when it came to June holidays, which is 6 months into the year, and we didn't have a maths teacher, he simply said, you are going to shift to geography. And so there went my medical profession.
Right.
And so I went into geography, and that's what actually took me to town planning, which I ended up being. And actually I'm glad that it actually turned out that way. And by the way, I did marry a medical doctor in the end.
Ah, good.
So I did end up with medicine in my family after all.
Right. And Lulu, who inspired you in your early days?
In my early days, it was my paternal grandmother who worked as a domestic worker in Durban. And the reason why I was inspired by her is because I understand my paternal grandfather died quite early on, and my father and siblings were still young. And completely out of the norm in the village, she decided to actually pack and go and go and look for a job in Durban so that she could at the time take her children to school. Now that was unheard of a rural woman who's just gonna leave children and just go and work in Durban, still in her morning clothes, which is the black clothes. But she did that, and that decision and that courage actually changed the course of our family. Because of that decision and that courage, my father ended up being a teacher. My uncle ended up being a teacher. The other one a policeman. My aunt ended up being a teacher. So we ended up in a family that understood the value of education, just because of that one woman who just was courageous and determined.
Where did you start your career?
In terms of working, I started working as a town planner in Umtata, which was the former Transkei at the time. And I went in there, having completed my town planning degree at the University of Natal. I went to work in the former Transkei because that was the only avenue that was available. That was 1982, because obviously I was black, and therefore I belonged to the homelands at the time. So I worked in Umtata as a town planner there. And I was the first town planner actually in the department, or in the Transkei, in South Africa for that matter.
And I believe you went all the way to become Director General?
No, actually, from Umtata, I then went to work at the University of Natal for an NGO that was focusing on housing concerns at the time. And then from there, I went back to university. I went abroad. And then I came back and I taught at the University of Natal. I was a senior lecturer there. And then left in 94 to come and work in the National Department of Public Works. And then I became the Deputy Director General in the department. So I was never a Director General, as a Deputy Director General. And then from there I left to be the CEO of the Independent Development Trust, which is a public entity.
And today you have your own investment firm, Lereko.
It's actually something I never dreamed of. When I finished my first term at the RT 5 years on, and the board was persuading me to stay, I was very clear that I was just burnt out, literally. I had spent 10 years in the public sector, which is the post-South African independence public sector, which is the years I spent in the National Department of Public Works and the time that I spent at the RDT. And I was completely burnt out. And I decided to take time out. So I took a year, which was 2004, to rest and recharge. And in the process of that, in 2005, I kind of came across Popo and Vali and Eric Malobi, who kind of persuaded me to join them. They were starting Lereko Investment. And I thought, okay, well, we'll give it a try. And I really didn't take it seriously because I never considered myself an entrepreneur or a business person. And as they say, the rest is history. I've been here from 2005 and I'm still here and I'm still going strong.
So Lulu, looking back over your career, would you say there was a major turning point?
I think there were two turning points in my career. I think the first turning point was that one of actually not having a maths teacher. So that actually got me into town planning, which is something I hadn't really planned. The second major turning point in my career was when I went to study at LSE. That I had not planned either. My then fiance had gone into exile in 1985, and I was having a bit of a rough time here with the security police. And the late Justice Pius Langa, the Chief Justice Pius Langa, organized a scholarship for me as a way of getting me out. So I went, I got the Mandela Scholarship, and I went to study at London School of Economics. So I didn't go into exile. So I went officially to go, but it was all very quickly organized. And that actually changed a lot about me, because when I studied at LSE, for the first time I kind of thought what I had been told previously when I was growing up, that I was intelligent. And then as I went to university, I doubted that. But when I got to LSE and there was no black woman, it was just myself amongst the many from different countries doing a master's program in this prestigious university. All of a sudden I came to my own, and I ended up getting a distinction there and got an award as the best student for the year, and the first for that award to have been awarded to somebody from a developing world. And I thought, this is it. And that just changed the way I viewed myself. My confidence levels came back to the confidence levels I'd had when I was at primary school. And that really changed. So everything else that I've done, I think it was a consequence of that gift that I got from the late Pius Langa, who really organized that scholarship for me and put me where I needed to be at the time.
And Lulu, what is driving you today?
What drives me today is making dreams come true for others, particularly young women, because I know what it is to be a young woman and having many decisions to make, and you're not sure. The world is not necessarily, not just South Africa, the world is not necessarily on the side of the young woman. So I have a daughter, and so I spend a lot of my time working with young women, supporting young women. I run a program which I call a Girls' Lunch with Dr. Lulu, which is essentially a mentoring program for young women. And at the moment I'm working towards working on expanding that and finding networks in the rest of the continent and working with other people who are interested in issues of young women. As this weekend I'm going to Namibia precisely for that reason. So that's something that really drives me at the moment, is how to make dreams come true, because I know what it is to dream. I dreamt as a young woman, and it was because of other people, as I said, like Justice Pius Langa, who made it possible for me. And so I want to also make it possible for others, because I consider myself to be in a privileged position now, both in terms of the networks that I have and also the things that I do in life, and also the family that I have. I'm able to do the things that I like to do and the things that I want to do.